I have something to say though.
What you got?
So I didn't tell you this because I was going to save it for the pod. I had a dream last night.
Yeah.
That I was going to do this episode, not with you.
What the hell?
But with Macy from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah, shout out to our girl.
It was very bittersweet because I was like, it's a shame because this could have been our big break.
Aww.
And we could have really gotten into the Mormon
content.
The Mormon lane, which we've always been aiming for. But instead, it's our final episode of the pod.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, Macy.
Sorry, Macy. You're not invited. I guess you'll have to get back on your plane to Provo. So that's what we're here to do.
Over 100 episodes.
Everyone said, everyone said 124 is the best place to stop because it's a nice rounded number that won't drive people with OCD crazy.
Yeah. I was suggesting a 1, 2, 3 kind of, but you were like, no, 1, 2, 4, really?
No, because I had big plans for our final episodes.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, because we had to cover a couple bangers. And the reason we're ending is because we've covered every film.
Yeah, all movies are over.
Full stop.
Movies are done.
We've covered every film we need to cover.
Yeah.
The project of the low ceiling is over.
Yeah. And from now on, every movie is just a high ceiling.
Yeah.
Mediocrity is dead.
And this means, if you've listened to our last 2 episodes, you can extrapolate that we are betting that Now You See Me 3 will be a banger. We've talked in the intervening weeks and we're like, maybe it will be one of the best films ever made.
We may come back as a Now You See Me only pod. Now you hear me. And it's going to be just as good.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, so we're wrapping it up. We're calling it good. This is it.
Yeah, dude.
I also maybe you're maybe you even see the description to this episode and you're like, I'm not listening to that shit. Good riddance. Goodbye. Which is fine. But I was reading that I believe it was on the podcasting subreddit. Someone asked the question, like, what do you find annoying about podcasts? We do a lot of those things, but one thing a lot of people said was like when they end without them explaining what happened.
Oh.
And we don't have anything to explain.
Oh yeah, we're big believers in closure. For sure.
We don't have anything to explain. We just want to give one last little brief episode.
Yeah.
To tell you that we're ending the pod. For no good reason. Like we're just doing it. Yeah.
Look, we went over 600 days and over 100 films just talking about all the things we love and hate to love.
Yeah. And frankly,
and here we are.
Frankly, I want to get back to watching movies for fun.
Yeah. So far, almost every movie has been I must make note of this emotion or feeling or scene, for I will have to reflect upon it in the week to come in an audio format. But now we can just be. Yeah,
and also that can sometimes be a struggle, as we've found, is like we'll get excited about doing a movie. At least in my experience, like we'll get excited about doing a movie and then watch it and then realize I'm like, oh, I don't care much about this film.
For this movie.
And then also, but you still, we only have limited times in our life, in our week, and we can't pivot, and then we go ahead, and sometimes those episodes turn out totally fine. Sometimes they don't. Like, I don't know. It's
the unexpected ones where you're like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It's so infuriating. And then when we start talking about it, nothing but laughs.
Yeah.
So fun.
Japes galore.
I
actually, I wanted to ask you about, like, what were some of your standout or surprising episodes in that regard?
Damn. Even from experiencing the movie to then reflecting on it and then talking about it.
Yeah.
Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah. That's
number one, baby.
I believe our best.
Number one.
It's the best movie we've done.
And the most joyous experience just from early days, because we talked about it so much, is Jennifer's Body.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So really what we're saying is that we kind of dropped off after episode 20 or so.
Jennifer's Body's episode 3. Yeah. So we're straight up
100 episodes ago, we stopped being good in any way. And I knew that was going to happen because as soon as I stopped doing having like my Zuckerberg podcast, my Zuckerberg impression make a regular appearance on the show, I knew that it was going to be my comedic persona could only go so far.
It was over for us.
Yeah.
As soon as Mark made an appearance, it was like, all right, wrap it up, folks. It's time to Congresswoman, it's time to get out of here.
Congresswomen, we're evolved now. We're a whole different Mark.
I think I especially loved Da Vinci Code.
That was fun.
And then having to do the other two was the real, like, God damn it.
See,
now I got to commit to... Every time there's, like, many parts of a film, it's like, okay, fuck.
I thought I enjoyed doing Fantastic Beasts, though. I thought that was enjoyable.
That's all you, baby.
You're right. I did carry those episodes on my back.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think Love Actually may have broken us both.
That was about the time I was like, I think it's time to end.
And that was episode 99, 98?
Something
98.
like that, yeah.
At 98, we were like, I think this is going to break us.
We we hit 100 like on New Year's or something, like right around then. It was a very weird time.
Yeah, dude. But then House of Gucci came upon us.
It's so, it's such a blur, man. I don't remember when we did what.
Either way.
Or why.
I think as soon as we entered like current stage cinema, like Megalopolis.
No, that was great. Come on.
I know, but
love Megalopolis.
But the greatest review for that film still is that shit sucked. Megacocalypse.
Megacocalypse, yeah.
Bless. I was most surprised by Godfather Part 3.
As a film.
Because everyone always shat on it, and I'd never seen it.
Yeah, you'd never seen it.
And I saw it.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
And I'd never seen that cut of it before. And it truly is like a very, very good movie. Yeah.
I wish, in retrospect, we'd had more regular episodes of pulling in friends of the pod who...
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, do you have any regrets or time doing this? Are there any films you wish we covered? Are there any episodes you wish were better?
I mean, look, tons of films that I wish we covered. Because our list...
We still have a list of like 100 films.
We have a master list that's got so many movies that we could talk about. But we pick on vibes basis.
Yes.
What do you feel like doing the most in that week?
Sure.
And sometimes some films, like for example... Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. A friend of the pod, Chris, would have fucking been a great guest on it. The Wolf of Warfare. So many good voices, and I think we should have brought in some people when we did Saltburn.
That was a masterpiece. I think that had to be experienced.
Just the love-hate for that film.
Yeah, the problem with that one, though, was that we saw it, and then in the middle of that, actually, sorry, not the middle, about 10 minutes into that movie, I was like, we have to do a podcast episode on this, and we had to do it the day after and get it out that day or something.
Yeah, we went to the cinemas, recorded the same day or next morning, and then it was bam.
It was out the next day, basically. Yeah. So having someone in to be prepared that way is like not fair to ask of other people. Yeah. But when I had three of our friends on, I thought all those episodes turned out really well.
Totally.
Really happy about them. I think some of our episodes were bad. I mean,
it's generous to say that only some were bad.
Yeah. I definitely think like our Tenet episode, I told you like right after we stopped recording, I was like, that was terrible. I don't know what we were doing. We were just awful in it. I thought.
Yeah, but there's no right way to talk about a fucking Nolan film.
That was a movie
especially that film.
That was a movie where I watched it and I thought we'd have a lot to say, and then we got to it and we just kind of were like, yeah, it's like backwards.
Yeah, they were like having thoughts that were out of a time.
Yeah, and we also had like we were in a familial situation where we had no time to ourselves.
That's right.
So that was part of it too.
I think.
And it was like 30 degrees in our home. So yeah.
Oh shit! I have no memory of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I do have a distinct memory of is Burnt.
That is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
That was one of the best movies we ever covered.
At all. Yeah. It's top 10.
The thing that bothers me a lot, now we'll talk again a little bit about Now You See Me 1 and 2. They could have been burnt at least, and they're not. Like
No.
Burnt is terrible,
Burnt is a
but
serious
it's
film.
also amazing.
Yeah.
And Now You See Me could have been that, and it's just they're not. Those,
Yeah.
But Burnt was like special. Burnt is
That's
so
because
special.
Bradley Cooper
Yeah.
has fucking magician energy in that movie.
I mean that movie. That's another movie. I may have said it at the time, but it doesn't operate on the laws of the universe either.
No.
No one in it does. It's an absurd film. Yeah.
I think I know another one that you would have enjoyed talking about as much as you enjoyed viewing.
What
Yeah.
I did. I've showed up on every episode.
Oh,
So,
but
what do you mean? Which
I
one?
want to guess it for you.
Okay, go on.
Spring Breakers.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. I think
Yeah.
research-wise, that was one of my favorite episodes.
That's right.
'Cause-
I learned so much about Harmony
Yeah,
Korine.
I like teaching you things.
Yeah.
I feel that way also about the Lion King. I enjoyed researching how the Lion King worked. I thought that was really
right, because of
fascinating.
the
technology.
The technology.
Yeah. Not because of the quality of the
I
film.
was like, oh, because of the lore. Big into lions. This
yeah,
guy.
I looked on the Lion King wiki a lot. And, yeah. Can I have another question? Because we've never really talked about this on the pod, like in a straightforward way, because we've always been focused on one film at a time, right? What do you think of the state of film right now? Like, what do you think of the state of Hollywood filmmaking?
I have two thoughts.
Please,
One-
can you please just limit it to one?
God damn it.
No, I'm kidding.
God
Go on.
damn it. Okay. One, the over reliance on nostalgia
Yes.
and having to like even with TV, even with movies, it's let's just bring that back and give it a modern. Who gives a shit? People die all the time. Let's make something new. Creativity is dead. So that's one like fucking boomer take that I have.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah. So,
Well, we're also of the generation to which that nostalgia is often being catered at.
yeah.
Towards. So that I fully agree with you about that. Yes.
There's that. And then the other aspect is I love that weird is back. There's
Okay.
like indie movies and I know that it now has become formulaic. Like A24 has its own fucking brand where they come out with similar, spooky track. Oh, it's going to be
Yeah.
a guy croaking and then he turns into a frog, man. Great. But 15 years ago, we didn't have so much of that outside of maybe a Cronenberg, outside of like one or two directors doing like a weird film. But now we have a whole production company that is dedicated to weird. And I think it encourages weird cinema.
I
good.
think 15 years ago, though, like, okay, my thoughts on that are that like 15 years ago, we were on the cusp of like being in the midst of maybe the greatest decade for film ever, in my opinion. And I know that that's cheap and biased for me to say because I was like in my 20s. Like, I understand that. But lest we forget that I was around from 2000 to 2009, which I think was not a great decade, which I think is really interesting because like when you contrast it to the 2010s, 2009 didn't have a lot. Like it was so... It would like one of the great things about it was like Hollywood would kind of pull on every string and try to see what worked.
Yeah.
Which is where we got, I think, in my opinion, where we got things like the X-Men trilogy and Spider-Man and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then the Marvel era, as much as I'm very dismissive of Marvel,
right.
gave Hollywood this anchor around which to create blockbuster cinema, which was like Marvel, Fast and the Furious, anything with The Rock, blah, 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 blah. And I think that was actually tremendously helpful because in the early 2010s, the A24 movies now that I think cost like 7 to 10 million, there was more weird movies that cost like 50 to 60 million, you know? And I think that is like gone now. I think that has slowly eroded over the 2010s. And now I think my big thought on like the state of the industry, and I don't fucking like, I'm not an insider. I don't know. This is just me being a viewer.
Yeah.
But like, we're trying to reckon with the North Star of losing the North Star that was Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and perhaps like Star Wars, because like so many of those were pieces of shit. Like in
and
retrospect,
mostly TV form, right?
well, yeah, and also like none of the studios at least seem to want to admit that it's like all we want is people to spend more hours watching our stupid streaming service.
Yeah.
We don't actually care about theatrical. We actually only care about the thing that makes us the most money.
Totally.
Which might be streaming, might be not. Like, I don't know. But even like if you think I'm cynical about films, which I'm not actually, I am in a place with television now that I'm just like most of this is really bad. Even the stuff that's critically acclaimed is not good. And in reverse, in between 2000 and 2010, TV was at the best moment of its of its life ever, basically.
For sure.
And like, yeah, we had a lot of great things since, but like, TV is just such a huge, massive disappointment these days. And movies continue. People get really cynical, but often if you hear people be like unreasonably cynical about movies, it's because it's like, well, you're watching the wrong things. You're not going out to watch movies that are interesting. You're just watching
what's mainstream.
You're just watching like the McDonald's of films, which again, like I said in the Now You See Me, it's okay to like stupid movies and to want to have a shut off your brain moment. I mean, we saw fucking Kraven the Hunter in theaters like a couple of idiots. But you also have to acknowledge that the level of talent is so high when it comes to film directing and writing, I think.
Yeah.
That it's just there's no excuse in my opinion, but I do think there's a big reckoning where a lot of the big blockbuster event movies suck or are for kids.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Because now it's a monetary question of success only.
I mean, yeah, and also like to your nostalgia point, it's like they mine all of these properties.
Yeah.
Like I think the next Marvel style thing that's going to come along is just like video game franchises, which they're really trying hard to do. The problem is, I think that with video game adaptations is that they seem to be deciding what to adapt based on how popular it is. And when you see something like Mario is a huge hit, but you're just like, well, what's the story with Mario? Or like Zelda, which is like, I'm sure I'm not interested in seeing a Zelda film, but it's like, right, but Link doesn't talk. So,
right.
You know what? And then there's all these other perfectly good games with incredible writing and stories that are being adapted, no doubt, but you're just kind of like, well, unless you're going to adapt that very truthfully, I don't care that much, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of where I'm at with that.
There's a lot more babies now in the world too.
There's kids getting born every day.
A lot of the content is for them.
Yeah, for sure.
So even more incentive for kind of, the push for AI and just creating shit.
I can't speak for what AI will do to films because I just have no idea. I think my suspicion, if I could speculate, is that somehow, like you were talking about kids, and I think that AI will somehow invade children's entertainment through their parents, because parents are tired and they have kids, and they're just like, I don't, just shut this fucker up and put something on the iPad. Just shut up, quiet, shut up, and just put something on the iPad, and I don't care what it is. Yeah, and it might be like an AI ripoff of something.
It's just any other animation, any cartoon, but it's just fully
and then
AI.
All of a sudden, you have a blockbuster kids film in cinemas.
Exactly,
that's AI, and it comes out in March, where it's the only thing that parents can take their kids to.
Yeah, summer break.
All of a sudden, AI is a big hit. Maybe that's what'll happen, or maybe the fucking Russos will just go all in. You know, like who knows?
Yeah, just an AI Robert Downey Jr.
So like, I'm afraid of that, but I try not to think too hard about like, I try not to be someone who's just like, oh, there's like nothing ever to look forward to in life. Like I know things are terrible out there, and like us speculating about Hollywood is like the least of the world's concerns, but I try not to doom and gloom about it. That's all.
What's a movie that like made you, like, surprised you with how good it was more recently?
This year?
Just off the top of your head.
Because this year, nothing so far. I don't think this year I've seen a movie that I really, really loved.
That's not even what I'm asking about really loving, but you were just like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. Like, you go and you're like, oh, and a new experience.
Friendship, actually, from this year.
Sure.
Friendship we talked about. Friendship was is fantastic. I'm really like, it was like well received, but I'm surprised I don't hear more people talking about it at its level where they're like, that is literally one of the funniest movies ever made. Like
I think because the show already existed and it didn't get as weird as the show. So people who might have enjoyed it more as a brand new content didn't. So it's not enough of.
But here's, can I just say, like, in defense of Tim Robinson, that it's not like he needs that. Comedies are not in a healthy place at all, because like, when was the last time you and I saw a straight comedy in cinemas?
That wasn't a rom-com.
No, that wasn't like a mashup of another genre.
Yeah,
Mickey
exactly.
17, you never saw it, but Mickey 17, arguably a comedy that's also a sci-fi film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of comedy, we talked about this on an episode, but a lot of comedy has been subsumed into action, and then a lot of everything that Friendship could have been is like on Netflix, and I'm just not watching it because Netflix is just a shit machine.
Yeah.
And also, like, you watch a lot of comedies, like I never saw all of it, but like Anyone But You, right? Anyone But You is like, you saw it, and it's like not good.
Yeah, it's
but
not good.
it has this huge story behind it because Sydney Sweeney is the other tall, handsome man who's in it, and like there's all this meta commentary upon that film. But when you get straight down to it, you're just like, oh, this is just a normal comedy.
It was bad. It wasn't funny.
Yeah, it's like with like dicks and shit. It's just a raunchy comedy. And then a lot of other comedy, like, and television has a lot of comedy going on in it, but a lot of it is also like, no offense to our generation, so we're not very funny people. Like, a lot of people are just not funny.
Yeah, I guess, unless it's like satire.
Yeah, but you could also be listening to this and being like, John, you're not funny too, and I get that as well. But as a consumer, I watch a lot of stuff where it's just like the jokes are all constructed off of like references from the internet and shit, and you're just like, it's not even original comedy. It's just like, do you remember this joke? And it's just not. It's like not. And Friendship, for what it's worth, it was completely original
because it's absurdist.
Exactly. And a lot of comedies don't do that these days. They just do like the easy kind of like the low hanging fruit kind of silly jokes or whatever. It's the equivalent of like comedians who only talk about Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like is what everyone can relate to instead of constructing skillful jokes, And I don't know.
Maybe Friendship is the closest thing we'll get to Charlie Chaplin. Just in terms of like unexpected slapstick, or when he gets like in Friendship, when he gets up on the chair and when he falls, or when he drinks and something falls on his head, or
Charlie Chaplin, like the silent film star.
Yeah, when he injures himself.
Yeah.
And
I don't know anything about Charlie Chaplin, so
okay.
I can't
well,
really...
I can't, the only other thing I can think of is like movies like Airplane or Dr. Strangelove, where it's things like satire very obviously.
Yes.
Or it's a Judd Apatow where it's like, family, but make it funny.
Judd Apatow is
or romance, but make it funny.
Yeah, Judd Apatow is very plot and character heavy, and like Friendship is not, because like Tim Robinson's character, you're just like,
strange guy.
He's just the weirdest guy, and then Paul Rudd is slowly revealed to be that as well, right?
Yeah.
But somehow, like, I've said it before. I might have said it on this pod. I don't know, but I've said it to people, and I won't spoil anything. But like the joke where, I mean, it's been out for 2 months, but like the joke where he goes on the drug trip, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Like easily one of the funniest jokes in a film I've ever seen. Yeah. It's also, for me, a big bone I have to pick is I hate drug trip sequences in films. Yeah. And that was the best thing a film has ever done, because drug trip sequences are all just such a waste of time.
Of course.
And like, so like Friendship is the one this year that one really popped for me.
Unexpected. Okay.
Well, no, I expected it to be good. I didn't expect it to be that weird and good.
Yeah. There's hope for us yet as a peoples.
Yeah.
As cinema makers.
Yeah. But anyway, like, I don't know. Those are our thoughts on the state of the industry. Do you have anything else to say about that? Any advice for Hollywood?
Hey man, just, get the Shrouds back in the game.
Shrouds was good.
Get more weird cinema. Like, make more room for that.
Yeah. Also, quite honestly, like, figure out comedies and get people who like.
That is hard. It's hard. It's hard to do that. Like it's hard to nail.
It's the hardest genre to write.
So is horror, right? It's like fucking easy pickings with the jump scares and all that, but you can never land a plane right with a horror film.
Well, we talked about this. Like a lot of horror fans, though, are just like they're so often like this 6 out of 10 movie is satisfying to me, and that's fine. Like I can be like that too. Like I like a lot of horror films that are just like. I mean, it's got moments, but it's not incredible. But like,
you know that.
Like. When you get those horror films that are like really, it's funny because like when horror films are critically acclaimed, people are always like, this is like an elevated horror film. And you're like, well, this movie, like I think of an elevated horror film as like Get Out, where it has some socially conscious thing going on, not just a good horror movie, you know? And there's this like, I think there's this 2-tiered system where people are like, the elevated ones are the more important ones. And it's like, no, I just want a good movie. Like it doesn't matter.
Prestige horror. It's a fucking, you know.
It's like, oh yeah, like I can make a minute-long TikTok like reading into really dumb shit to pretend it's about some social issue that surprisingly matters a lot to me. Like, and that stuff is whatever. Like horror is just hard to. It's hard to make, but it's doubly hard to like make really well, I think. And the thing is like there's a lot of really good filmmakers who make horror films and they're still like they're all right.
Yeah, all right.
Those Raka Raka boys who made fucking Bring Her Back. Like that was an all right movie. It was just all right. But effective, but all right, you know? Yeah.
Did you, in your course of all our podcasts episodes that we've done, I discovered that I have a favorite director that I didn't know of before we started doing these episodes.
Cooper. Right, Scott Cooper. Yeah. No, but I gained a lot more respect for Tony Scott. Certainly.
Oh, like
I always loved Tony Scott, but Tony and Ridley actually. My appreciation for both of them grew a lot the more we talked about them, especially Ridley, because a lot of the current conception of him is that like they're like, oh, he's like washed up and stuff, but I'm kind of like, that's completely fine with me that he's washed up. He's 85 years old. Yeah. And he's still like, I still think Napoleon was a far better film than people gave it credit for. Gladiator 2 was not. I understand that, but like,
sure. Yeah.
But when you look back on Ridley's films that are well received, you realize it's like the guy made fucking Alien, and then he made Blade Runner, and then he made Gladiator.
God damn.
And Blade Runner and Gladiator had 18 years in between where he also made a bunch of other stuff.
Trifecta.
That was like not as well received, but his skill is just so undeniable.
Did he do The Counselor?
And he did The Counselor. That's the next one. Yeah. That everyone is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but The Counselor is like, I think like Gladiator 2 is like, people get it. That movie's not very good. It's not good. The Counselor, I think, is misunderstood, right? In the same way that Man on Fire by Tony Scott is, I think, misunderstood, because I think that movie's a masterpiece.
It's fucking rips.
That movie's like incredible.
Man on Fire rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so my appreciation for them definitely grew a lot. But we also covered them and Scott Cooper the most, I think, over the entire
Scott
run.
Fest all day.
Yeah.
I'm happy you started this podcast, and
it was.
I'm happy to have been on the ride.
It's been a lot of fun. Like the honest reason we're stopping is because it just has become a lot of, not like a ton of work, but like I feel like I can't commit myself.
Life got in the way, man.
To the research and the editing and because I do all the work. That's the thing.
We're gonna cut all that shit out because
like some people just like show up and expect me to just put a microphone in front of them.
Excuse me, that's what the talent does. Hello.
Yeah. And then she literally just drops the mic on the floor and walks away when we're done, and we don't speak for another 3 days. Like that's actually what happens. It's a little behind the scenes.
That's enough chatter.
Should we wrap this up?
Forever. Permanently.
We might come back if we're just really dying for
Absolutely not. Just kidding. It will be in a brand new format.
You won't
even see it coming.
To little to no fanfare at all. And we won't even mention that we quit once.
No one's going to know.
We'll just pretend. No one will know. We don't have enough listeners anyway.
I actually have a side podcast that I can now tune into the medium ceiling. And if that's a real podcast, then don't tune into that right now.
Tune into the high ceiling where I'll be talking about Gladiator right off the bat.
No Scots ever.
Yeah. But like truly, it has been really fun to do.
Yeah.
It is for if anyone wants advice on how to start a podcast, all you have to do is just start. It's really not that hard to do. Most people can do it. It's
Try
really
not
easy.
to give a shit, and then it'll be a great time.
Yeah, and like that's a good mantra because of my complete allergy to self-promotion.
Yeah.
And
don't give Meta your money.
We have very few listeners, and that's totally fine. And
But
I don't resent it at all. But it is fun to continue just the mind, because like so much of content creation is like, man, in order to get listeners, I have to act like I have a head injury and talk like I have to talk like I have severe cognitive issues in order to get listeners. Because like you see content creators, you know, they evolve into something that is just like absurd. And we never wanted to do that. We always wanted to be like, wanted to feel like ourselves.
Yeah, like we got lobotomied in a normal way.
Yeah, we are normally lobotomized people.
Yeah.
We wanted to feel like ourselves. We wanted it to feel like naturalistic. And I didn't want to spend time self-promoting because I hate doing that.
Yeah, no money, no more money to give to Zuckerberg.
I would never ask people to pay for this ever in my life. No, absolutely not. But
only in smooches.
But like, yeah, like that is all to say. It has been very fun. I really enjoyed making it. Maybe when I'm like 50, 60, we'll start it up again when there's a new crop of films. But most importantly, like to anyone who's ever listened, like thank you very much. It's been really nice to know that we have a little tiny crew of people.
It's so cute to like randomly wake up and be like, oh, someone commented on this podcast and they gave their 2 cents.
Sometimes they're like from another country.
Yeah, they're so motivated.
And it's so weird. Yeah.
I love it.
Like
I love to see it.
If you're out there and you're from another country or you don't speak English as your first language, don't learn from us. We are fucking horrible.
This is a problem. Yeah, we're a problem.
We're really bad. I mumble. I swear a lot. I say a lot of bad things.
Yeah. And I'm perfect. So, you know. Yeah. So that's the problem.
And the thing is too is I talk like this everywhere. I talk like this at work. I don't really have much of like I don't have much of a differentiation. I'm not a professional person. Anyway. Yeah, thank you again. Sincerely, thank you.
It's been great.
It has been great. And it has
for one last time.
It has been the low ceiling.
It has been the low ceiling.
You've been John.
And you've been Pri.
I've been Pri. Thank you again for listening. Signing off.
Mwah!
Goodbye.